Hello and welcome to Grocer Pod. My name is Sean Sednar. This week I have something a little different for you. In just a minute, you will hear parts of a Learning Lounge presentation from the 2025 Innovation Showcase. John Abbene is the president of BRdata. In March, he gave a presentation on how AWG members could harness the power of BRdata's AI to help their business. Retailers can ask Ada, the company's AI chatbot, to analyze reports and even advise on ordering decisions. Before we get to John's presentation, I want to remind you to please subscribe to Grocer Pod. Subscribing means new episodes will be downloaded for you each week. You can find Grocer Pod on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube Music, or any other platform you use to listen to podcasts. And now, here is John Abbene on AI for the independent grocery decision makers.
So let's talk about this exciting technology that's available to you. So basically, BRdata, we've been around for 45 years, working specifically for independent grocers. We support over 10,000 stores in the industry today. There are 3,800 stores on the RPA platform powered by BRdata. So we've been working very closely with the AWG team for the last couple of years on that. So we've been doing AI now for a couple of years, and we've invested in it. We brought in a data science team, which really thinks differently than the regular. I've been programming for over 35 years, and I'll tell you, the data science team and the programmers, it's kind of like, as they're explaining stuff, it's really on a different way of thinking. So we focused on pricing, forecasting, and personalization, which a lot of companies have done. You create models to find the right retail price. You create models to personalize offers to customers. You forecast sales. Those are kind of things that we focused on for years, and a lot of other companies have focused on with AI. But what happened was, going past that, you look at reports today, right? So how many reports are available? So we have a reporting solution, and many of you have other reporting solutions. It doesn't really matter what you have, whether you're using a Power BI or some other system to get to data. You have all this information, and we have this as well. Reports on basket, cashier, financials, item movement, loss prevention. Who knows all those reports? These 70-plus reports, one person knows them all, Mike Abbene in the corner over there. So if you get Mike on the phone, he'll be happy to explain any of these reports to you. But if you want to get to the data that's in these reports and you don't really know where to look, that's where AI can help you, right? So that's kind of where we will push in this direction. My friend John Ross from IGA, I met with him a year ago at FMI in Florida, and he's like, John, what are you doing with AI? So, pricing, forecasting, personalization. It's like, oh, that's kind of cool, but the AI has to tell you what this information is. You should be able to ask these questions and get the information back. That's what the AI needs to do. I said, all right, John, we'll get on it. So I had John talk to our development team. He inspired him, and we wanted to get it done for our conference last year in September. A week before, we had a breakthrough. It looks like we're going to get it done. So let's see what Ada could do, right? So these are real questions from real customers. We actually had at NGA, one of our customers on the platform presented these slides on things that he asked in the system. What are the top 3 categories this month? Boom, gives you that information. Not only does it give you the information, it explains to you how you got that information, right? So and those are my top 3 categories. In my East Windsor store, it's agentic. It remembers your questions. It can continue and learn and continue to ask questions on it. Okay, dinners is number 3. What are my top 5 items by unit in the dinner category for last week? Boom, there it is. Lasagna is number 4. Okay, how much lasagna did I sell in the dinner category last week? So it gives you that information. In addition, it says, additionally, here are some other lasagna variants sold in that dinner category: meat lovers, eggplant, and vegetable lasagna. Let's continue. So what are my last 7 days sales for lasagna? There it is. What are the best Italian foods sold in East Windsor? So we breaks that out. It automatically said Italian bread, pizza. Was another category that I left out there. And What are the average basket amount by store this month? Boom, there's my average basket size by store. Continuing, we asked it, can you bring me some coffee? It didn't know what to do with that. So we said, well, then what are the 10 best coffee items this year? Gives you that information. Specifically in the coffee category in my East Windsor store. Gives you that information. What are my top 5 TPR items for February? Funny story, the retailer that's presented this at NGA, he popped this thing up on the screen, and then his wholesaler was in the room, and he's just like, Bob, he's just like, we ran out of eggs. You bought up all the cage-free eggs, and then you put them on TPR. So they had to put a limit on the cage-free eggs after this thing. But what are my top 5 ad items this week in my Granby store? So you get the idea on that. Let's continue a little bit more here. So these are so this morning I'm like, let's get some fresh content. Let's get some questions, because all these questions are coming in. We're seeing them all. More you ask, the better the AI gets. What are my top 10 beer items in Los Angeles for last Friday? It ranks that 1 through 5. I continued on the next screenshot all the way to 10. Explain to you how you got those numbers, and what are my Modelo Especial sales for the last 7 days in Los Angeles. Gives you that information, breaks it out by store, South Central, LA, Long Beach, Santa Ana. You want to get that information out, you look up this information, you want to send it to somebody, or just text it there, right? You could text it or email, just like any other application, any other iPhone. So it'll run on your iPhone, on your Android, whatever you have, it runs the same way. Production planning. Another retailer at NGA gave a presentation on how he was using. This guy has 10, 11 stores in the Utah area, and he talked about, so he asked the question, how many fruit trays should I have available tomorrow? Gave him that information. In my Shelley store, so listed that out. Shrink, if you capture shrink in BRdata or in another application, it doesn't matter. If you have shrink numbers and you could feed that into this database, you could ask those type of questions. What store had the most shrink yesterday? Gives you that information. Alpine was my most shrink store. If I was going to reduce shrink in Alpine, what are the 10 items that I should produce less of tomorrow? Gives you that information. So again, you don't have to be running BRdata. You don't have to be running this application. You just need to get your data into this database so that the AI can utilize it. The data is all protected. It's not going out to the internet. It's not going to one of these companies that are just going to take your data and regurgitate it into a system. It's focused specifically on your database. Multilingual. Here are my top 5 categories for last week. Rank my top 5 category sales for last week. Took that same question, dumped it into a translator, asked that question in Spanish, got the same answer. So we have a group of stores in North Carolina that this mainly Spanish stores, and they went crazy over this. They took it and they're asking all these questions about the different things that you can get in the store. So it's basically anything that you can, that's in your database, sales related, purchase related, T-logs, shrink, item related, gross margin. You just go on and on and on. So all these questions that you're asking are all coming in, and she always is getting better. So we saw a question come in that said, how many eggs did I sell last week? Well, Ada doesn't know about your purchase data yet, so we're turning that on with the next release. Ada's going to learn about purchase data, and then that'll be available. So don't be like the substitute teacher there. Ask your questions. We know what's going on that. Okay, so you have the data. Just ask Ada. So I just randomly picked some questions over the last couple of days to show you some real examples of what retailers are asking the system. How much Monster Zero did I sell in a week? There it is. These are questions that were, so March 17th to March 23rd, you sold that much Monster Zero in your chain. And then actually go back one. So we have Doc Foods. Is anybody from Doc's in here? Courtney? Oh, yeah, they're not in here. But we turned this on for them recently. So somebody asked, which one of my locations sells the most shellfish? So Bigsby does. What are the top locations sold for shellfish? So here are the top locations that sold the most shellfish, specifically oysters. So if you're in Oklahoma, Bigsby, Oklahoma, apparently oysters are popular. How many Pepsi drinks were sold? So Ada doesn't care. She knows you meant how. You wrote ho, but you meant how. How many Pepsi drinks were sold last week? So spelling errors, grammar errors, she fixes, she knows, which is good for me because when I start talking into that thing, it's like, what is this guy talking about? So in the last week, 1,800 units. What is the top-selling cereal? Top-selling cereal, Kellogg's Frosted Flakes. So this is a group in Oregon that asked that question. What is my average customer count? All right, let's be more specific. So Ada got a little snarky there. Say, to provide you with the average customer count, I need to know the specific time frame you are interested in. Do you want the last 28 days, last week, different time periods? Please be specific. What are my Palo Alto store sales for today? If you're getting your data loaded into your system, trickle, like every 15 minutes, you could load this data up to the cloud. You could ask those type of questions. What are my sales as of today? What's my customer count of today? What's my customer hours by today? Like what this group in Utah asked, what are my hourly sales for March 20th? All right, so you get that information. So no sales between 2 and 3, but they are having some, maybe not worth keeping the store open from midnight to 6 a.m., so that's a good measurement there. What are my top ad items for 3.2 to 3.8? Gives you that information. So we'll get into other questions, more advanced questions that you could ask this thing. And then I just randomly grabbed some questions there. Which cashier had the highest void dollars in the company last week? How much ranchera do we sell? It actually answered that question and knew exactly what this person was talking about in this chain on the West Coast. And then the movement on poo corn. She didn't answer that one. She's like, I apologize, but I don't know what poo corn is. So then they quickly asked the movement on popcorn, so she knew what that was. How many wood bundles sold this week? What are top-selling beef items? Rotisserie. These are real questions. Rotisserie chickens last week in my store 200 or whatever store. These are the things that you could do. Just ask. Can you give me revenue? My Monday. This is interesting. I wish I shifted this over a little bit. But this is one owner. He owns about 10 stores in California. And he was having a conversation. Can you give me revenue by store Monday through Sunday, weekend and yesterday? Yes. Can you compare the same data versus last week, yesterday? Yes. Movement breakdown by store. It broke that down. Top selling items for the same period. Well, how many pounds of Roma tomatoes did I sell in that time period? Roma tomatoes are sold in pounds. How did you get units? Because Ada gave you pounds and units. So you wanted to understand why you giving me units instead of pounds. Explain that. How much revenue was collected last week of Roma tomatoes. And the top 20 reports, you reported 87 units sold. So he was really hung up on this units pounds thing. So he kept asking questions on that, and it kept trying to explain the answer on that. Again, with anything AI, there's hallucinations or confabulations, as it can be referred to, where the system, sometimes, like when we first implemented this thing, we were getting some crazy responses back. It's like, oh, category sales, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. Like, where did you get that information? It just made it up. So we have to train the model. This is not just asking a question, getting an answer. There's a lot going into this. Training the model, removing those hallucinations, removing these things to try to make it more accurate. It's a balancing act. There's so many technologies. When we released this in September, where it is today, there's 27 chains running this nationwide, representing over 600 stores. I have another 24 chains representing another 500 stores in the queue that want to get on this thing as fast as possible. But it's a balancing act of speed and accuracy, and that's what the team is always working on. So, you look at data science, it's something we could do. We could kind of figure this out. People are doing it, but there's a lot that goes into it, and it's a big commitment to, and it changes almost daily. That you got to be aware of that. This is a cool thing. How many hours should I schedule tomorrow in my bakery department? How many hours did I use last year in the bakery department? This user kind of gave the information. You know, he owns the stores. We have, I go to him, I says, you know, Bob, we have 70 reports, we have 21 views. He says, I don't have time to learn any of that. I just want to ask a question and get an answer. And so he was a big user of that. For those of you who are familiar with AWG's new pricing application, RPA, so we have this really cool pricing application that we worked with AWG on very hard over the last 5 years or so. We've rolled that out to a good amount of stores, and we're in the process of adding Ask Ada to that, right? So we're testing it now, so think about those questions. How much am I selling of this item? How much am I purchasing in this category? What items should I buy? What items are being sold in a specific, what are my top selling items in the warehouse that maybe I'm not selling? Those are the type of things that Ada could answer. Labor forecasting, right? If you import labor into the information, into the system, those could be part of reports. You could access that. You could email sales this year, last year, percent change, quantity this year, last year. If you're bringing in labor into that, now you could see sales per labor hour, gross margin receiving alert. So these are the different things that people are looking at. This retailer wanted to know when he's selling items at a bad gross margin. Turns out the price of brats changed, and he didn't change the retail. So he received this product in, didn't change the retail, so he had an issue there. So that's something that it could identify. Same thing on sales. Item void reports. This is a popular report. You have a top seller. You want to know if it's not selling, right? So that's an item void report. So these are the type of things you can ask the AI system to just go out and get this information versus running this report. Basket analysis by register, breaking that down by register. I want to know what my regular sales are versus my service counter sales versus my self-checkout sales versus my online sales. What are those different percentages in the store? So this is a group of stores for one day. Loyalty system. So we have a loyalty application where this information is all integrated. But if you have another loyalty platform and you want to get this data loaded in and ask those type of questions, that's possible as well. Who are my top customers? What are they not buying? What are they buying? Who's not buying in this specific department? Beer of the Week is a popular promotion that we see people run. Spend $50, get $10 in your wallet. We also have access to this database, Independent Insights, where we have over 2,000 independent grocers nationwide, so we could see what anonymized. So we anonymize this data so you could see what's selling in a specific item. So we send out emails on this, for customers that subscribe to this and say, so showing your department, your category. So this Oreo item, new Oreo lemon cookie, he's selling it in 3 of his stores. Another item, Dorito item or Kraft item, not selling any. So these are the type of things that you have access to and the AI has access to. Vendor portal. I just saw something. Walmart did a press release on how they're using Wally to talk to their vendors now. So vendors can ask Wally, right? Questions about items that are selling. Oh, why don't you have your vendors ask Ada about specific items within the vendor portal? Capturing shrink and known loss, right? So these are the type of reports that come out for shrink in your stores, right? So you could see this item, I threw out $89 of that item and I sold 0 that day. This is where we see it going. What items should I put on promotion? What items should I promote together? Affinity. These are reports in the system, but how does the AI just tell me that? Right? The customer, so that nationwide database, how do my produce sales compare to nationwide benchmark? Things like that. Show me lost sales opportunities based on top trending items in my region. Again, a report for that. I just want to ask a question and get that information. We had a retailer presented on this, talked about dashboard alerts. He came up with Ask Ada, right? So when you log into the cloud, log into RPA, 2 minutes, all right, I got it. When you log into that, you'll be able to see those alerts and the system will recommend that information for you. And that's all I have. Any questions? Please. please, Mark.
You mentioned how you were trading your model off of interactions from people using it.
Yep.
And people are entering their own information. So is there any risk of their information showing up in future models that you would have to worry about mitigating?
No, because we control that. So those questions that come in, we kind of build that into the model that we're only accessing, right? That model is not out in the internet. That model is local within our Azure platform, within our network, right? So, any other questions?
How about if you wanted to have set up an auto replenish or an auto ordering system? Say a case of something sells, it'll automatically order for your next truck.
So we have that. We have a CGO module that does that, and the models that forecast for our pricing system are also integrated into our CGO system. But you're right. I think that's a great question on how you should be able to ask that information. Just like that other user, he was forecasting how many fruit trays to make, right? So forecast sales, and that would get built into the order.
Thank you all for listening. We are still working our way through all the great content from the showcase. I'm going to be bringing it to you in the weeks to come. In the meantime, please remember to like and subscribe to GrocerPod. That way you can stay up to date on all the latest things going on around AWG. Until next week, this has been Shankar Sednar with GrocerPod.